Hello, my lovely dreamers. Welcome to our channel, or welcome back. I'm Christina and I make ASMR videos, and this is a mystery true crime ASMR story, and that is why I am whispering. It's time for another wine and crime story. So sit back, relax, pour yourself some wine. It's late at night here, so I am going to have some tea, but you can enjoy whatever you want. Close your eyes, relax, and let's listen to an old Hollywood mystery, the story of a very beautiful young actress who disappeared without any trace many years ago. So I'm going to take you back in time. She was also called the other Black Dahlia because of the circumstances, and you will see why. So relax, sit back, close your eyes, but before closing your eyes, don't forget to leave a little comment, or to drop a like, or consider subscribing if you're not subscribed yet. Thank you very much. Let's put on the glasses. It's like a little relaxing ritual. I have here a cup of tea. It's still hot. This is chamomile tea. It will help me relax because I really have trouble sleeping lately, and I have been haunting the ASMR channel of wonderful girl called Penelope ASMR. I love. She has a little channel, but she's a rare pearl. I love her channel. So let's have a sip of this. Let's get started. So the actress I'm going to talk about tonight, the actress is, or was called, Jean Spangler, and she was an American actress. Not a famous one. She became famous due to her disappearance, unfortunately, but we don't know what she might have or been around enough. Maybe she might have been famous actress, but at the moment of her disappearance she was an actress who appeared in little parts in several Hollywood films in the late 40s, and she became famous for her mysterious disappearance in 1949, unfortunately. And as I have told you, she was called the other Black Dahlia, the other Dahlia. I found out about this case while I was researching for my Black Dahlia case. I will link that video below if you want to watch it. So that is another famous Hollywood mystery, even more famous than this one. If you look at the picture of this young actress, you will see a stunningly beautiful woman. She had a beautiful smile. She was really tall. I thought that if she had lived nowadays she would have become a very famous model. She was stunningly beautiful indeed, with a very beautiful dark hair and wonderful bone structure, wonderful smile, wonderful attitude. She was indeed extremely beautiful. She was born on September 2nd, 1923 in Seattle, Washington, US. And she is currently missing. She has been missing for 72 years. Almost 73 years. She vanished. She has never been seen again, dead or alive. She was a smart girl also, extremely hardworking and extremely ambitious. She attended high school in LA, California, and she dreamed, of course, of starting a career in film. But before having small parts in different films, she worked as an exotic dancer, to say so, so she danced with the Earl Carroll Theatre and Florentine Gardens. Of course, if we think at the moral aspect of this job, it wasn't considered quite proper for a young lady to do something like this back then. But still, she met at one of those theaters while she was working there. She met her future husband, person named Dexter Banner, and they fell in love. He was not rich, but he did well financially speaking. So they got married in 1942, and as an respectable man as he was, he expected his wife would give up dancing and become a housewife. He couldn't stand the idea that his wife continued to work as a dancer. He loved attending those kind of theaters, but he didn't love the idea of that his wife was one of those girls. It wasn't considered such a respectable job back then. But Jean was extremely ambitious, and she had the dream, and she followed that dream no matter what. She would have done anything to get where she wanted. She needed to get in touch with famous people, she needed to make connections, she needed to earn her own money. So she didn't give up dancing. But there were hard times, and Jean's husband needed to go and fight. It was the Second World War, and while he was gone, of course, Jean continued dancing and started a relationship with another man who was really abusive to her. And Jean and her husband, they had a daughter together named Christine, who was born on April 22nd, 1994. Of course, when her husband returned, he couldn't find anything left from his marriage and from his bank account. There was nothing left. So they divorced. It was a very ugly divorce. It was a very ugly divorce. They divorced in 1946. And they engaged into a long battle for the custody of their daughter Christine. So Dexter wanted full custody of his daughter, and while he was taking care of their daughter, he didn't allow Jean see her, because he considered her immoral and performing something immoral to society from the social point of view. And he pretended that she was not good as a mother, because she used to spend all her time dancing, and she earned her living dancing. But I think back then things began changing also, and her job was considered by the jury, at least, ordinary job just like any other job. It was unusual for women to work back then, but due to the fact that men were away fighting, they had to work. So a lot of women started earning their own money and became independent, and Jean was one of them. And she gained full custody of her daughter in 1948. And at the time of her disappearance, she lived with her mother Florence, with her 5-year-old daughter Christine, and with her sister-in-law Sophie in Colgate Avenue, a residential complex. Apart from being a dancer, she had some minor parts in different films, like an extra person in the church, the girl in the dancer, hero dancer, showgirl, TV studio audience member, or a nightclub patron. But she, as I have told you, she was dreaming of becoming a famous actress, and she was working on establishing connections, to say so, and meeting famous persons. So she was really was able to do anything in order to get where she wanted. She would have done anything for this. So let's go back to the 7th of October 1949 in the evening. So on that evening, Jean left her home in LA, telling her sister-in-law that she was going to meet with her ex-husband, remember Dexter, because they had problems with his payments. He was late, and then she was going to go to work as an extra on a film set. She was last seen live at a grocery store a few blocks away from her home, about approximately 6 p.m. That was the last time she was seen alive. And she seemed extremely happy when she left. She asked how she looked like. 2 days later, her purse was discovered in a remote area of Griffith Park, about 9 kilometers from her house. And there was a mysterious handwritten note inside that purse, and that note was addressed to Kirk. And in that letter, she mentioned meeting a doctor. And of course, there was a famous actor back then called Kirk, and he called the police to tell them that he had an alibi without even being asked. So the Lieutenant Kirk called police to clear his name, and he told the police that he was away in Palm Spring, he had flu, and of course the police accepted his explanation, but the only connection between the actress and the famous actor was his name mentioned in that note, and the actor Kirk didn't seem to remember her, but at a certain point he remembered her. He remembered the fact that he made some jokes about her and that she was extremely tall. And that was it, no more further questions. That door was closed forever, so they established that Kirk had nothing to do with Jean's disappearance. So she left her home, and she mentioned that she needed to discuss to her ex-husband about him being late with the child support payment, and then she was going to work on a night shoot for a new film. 2 hours after leaving the house, Jean called home and spoke with Sophie as well as with her daughter, and let them know that she would have to work the full 8 hours and she would not return home that evening. At the time of her disappearance, her mother Florence was visiting family, so she was out of town. On the following morning, October 8, Sophie went to the police and filed a missing report, because of course Jean hadn't returned home. In spite of telling her sister-in-law that she was going to work on a film, the police checked with the studios and found no records indicating that she had worked that night. Shop assistant at a market, as I have told you, a few blocks away from Jean's house, remember seeing her around 6 p.m. and she noted that she appeared to be waiting for someone to have some sort of meeting, and that shop assistant was the last person who had ever seen Jean alive. Of course, the police questioned Dexter because Sophie mentioned the fact that Jean was going to meet him. But Dexter claimed that he had not seen his former wife for several weeks, and his new wife to whom he had been married only 1 month, supported his story. Let me show you my cup, my mug. See, there are some ladies here, and there's a pond with some, I don't know what birds are these. Very cute. They're under a willow. Alright, let's go back to our story. On the 9th of October 1949, Jean's purse was found near the Ferndale entrance of Griffin Park in LA. Both the straps on one side of the purse were torn, as if it had been ripped from her arm. 60 police officers and a lot of volunteers searched all over the park, but no other clues were found. There was no money in the purse. Sophie mentioned that Jean had no money at all, so the police ruled out robbery as a motive. But there was a strange note in that purse, as I have told you, addressed to Kirk. And in that handwritten note, he said that he couldn't wait any longer and that she was going to see Dr. Scott and that it would work best this way while her mother is away. And that's why Kirk, the famous actor, felt the need to call the police and to tell that he had nothing to do with this story. Police could not find any person named Kirk or Dr. Scott. Jean's family and friends didn't know anyone by those names. When Florence returned to LA, told police that someone named Kirk had picked up Jean at her house twice, but he preferred to stay in his car and did not come in, so she couldn't tell anything about how this person looked like. Police questioned every doctor with the last name Scott in LA, but none of them had a patient with the last name Spangler or Benna, her married name. But maybe she used fake name or nickname. Remember that while her ex-husband was away fighting, she had a relationship with an abusive man, and the police investigated this lead also. But he had also nothing to do with this. Griffin Park was searched over and over the following week by over 200 volunteers. Of course, dogs were used. One of the dogs dug up something, but they could not find any other belongings of Jean. Well, very nice. I have been talking for, I think, 15 minutes when I realized that my camera was turned off. So let's talk about the theories. At the time of her disappearance, Jean had recently finished filming a part in a film starring the famous actor Kirk, and this led to public speculation that the famous Kirk, the legend, was the one mentioned in her note found in the purse. After he had read about the discovery, he called the police and denied knowing Jean. But then she admitted that he met her, talked to her, and made some jokes on the set, but he had never spent time with her outside of the film set. So, also, Jean's girlfriends, and this is a second theory. So the first theory was that the Kirk was that person mentioned in her note. There is another theory, and this one is a very sad one. Jean's girlfriends told police that she was extremely happy lately, and then she had started a new relationship. There was a new man in her life, but that she had never mentioned who that person was. And when asked that if the relationship was serious, he said no. She denied, but she said that she didn't care. She was happy, and that is all that mattered. She also told them that she was going to get a consistent sum of money, but she didn't mention how. And Jean's girlfriends also mentioned that she was pregnant. She was 3 months pregnant when she disappeared, and that she talked about not being the right time for becoming a mother again, and that she needed to have a special kind of surgery. You imagine what kind of surgery, but that was illegal back then. But in spite of this, there were a lot of doctors who performed some perform this kind of surgeries. And there were also persons who were not doctors but did this kind of things. Witnesses from Jean's witnesses among Jean's friends mentioned that they heard talking around about a former medical student who is known as Doc, who did this kind of surgeries for money, but they could not find him. They could not prove that he even existed. But the theory still remained that she disappeared under the circumstances related to this kind of surgery. When a tragedy happened, she might have lost her life, and the person who did this found a way to get rid of her. And it's quite credible, taking into account the fact that she was having an affair at the time without mentioning the identity of the man. She was having the time of her life, and she didn't care that it wasn't serious. And this is a second theory, and there was how I found out about this case. I found about Jean while I was researching about my Black Dahlia case, because at that time and when Jean went missing, there were several female victims in a series of killings in LA, and her disappearance was linked somehow to the Black Dahlia murder, and Black Dahlia's murder occurred in 1947. There was another theory about a disappearance being related to LA gangster with whom she might have been associating, but they were never been able to find any proof. No proof. And related to the Black Dahlia, there was a famous doctor back then called Hodel, and his son, I talked about this doctor in Black Dahlia's video. This doctor also performed this kind of surgeries, and he was also very known in Hollywood. He had a lot of clients, a lot of famous clients as actors, and even LA policemen. And many years later, his son, who was also a police detective, accused his father of being the author of these terrifying killings in LA. And he accused him of killing both Black Dahlia and Jean. So Jean might have had a relationship with this doctor, or she might have needed him for that kind of surgery. Police investigated this doctor for a while, but he left the country and lived happily a long, happy life. Nobody bothered him. So this case is still unsolved. This beautiful young actress, or future-to-be actress, disappeared without any trace, vanished. There was nothing left of her. Shortly after Spangler disappeared, the custody of her daughter Christine was awarded to Ben. But following year, custody battle started again between him and Florence. Of course, Dexter denied a visitation with Christine. although there was a court order that he permit Florence to visit her granddaughter, but Dexter forbidden this. He didn't want his daughter to see her grandmother again. He was ordered to serve 15 days in jail for this, but still he fled California with his wife and daughter, and that was it. Jean's picture had circulated for several years, but there was no reliable leads. There was even a further reward, but despite of becoming a very known case, no further clues have ever surfaced. She is still listed as a missing person, as the LAPD police have never closed the case. So let me know what you think about this story. Was she a victim of an illegal surgery performed by a student and just disposed, and that person tried to get rid of her and succeeded very well because she was never found again? Did she have a relationship with a famous hotel and he killed her as he killed the Black Dahlia? And there were rumors that there were a lot of bodies in the yard, buried in the yard of his house, when the police installed some bugs in his house, they could hear digging sounds, but they didn't do anything. They just stood there listening. Or was she a victim of her husband, who wanted full custody and wanted to revenge for what she had done to him? Was she a victim of a gangster? Had she eloped with someone? But it's hard to believe that she would never want to see her daughter again. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this old Hollywood mystery. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that it was relaxing to you. See you next time.